Rule 15, briefs in opposition reply brief, supplemental brief, United States Supreme Court. To establish federal jurisdiction in a declaratory judgment action, two conditions must be satisfied. First, it is the constitutional inquiry. The case must be a case or controversy pursuant to Article 3 of the United States Constitution. Second is the prudential inquiry. Declaratory relief must be appropriate relief pursuant to the Declaratory Judgment Act, also requires the establishment of standing under the statute. This discretion exists by virtue of the prosecutor's status as a member of the executive branch and the president's responsibility under the Constitution to ensure that the laws of the United States be faithfully executed. If the statute's language is clear, there is no need to go beyond the statute's plain language into legislative history. But whereas the statutory text is not ambiguous, only the most extraordinary showing of contrary intentions in the legislative history would justify a departure from the statutory language. A mark obtains a secondary meaning and therefore acquires distinctiveness when, in the minds of the relevant consuming public, the primary significance of the term is not the product but the producer. According to the prior panel precedent rule, a prior panel's holding is binding on all subsequent panels unless and until it is overruled or undermined to the point of abrogation by the Supreme Court or by this court sitting en banc. While an intervening decision of the Supreme Court can overrule the decision of a prior panel of our court, the Supreme Court decision must be clearly on point. The Declaratory Judgment Act confers a district court the power to declare the rights and other legal relations of any interested party seeking such declaration in a case of actual controversy. Where a plaintiff seeks a declaratory judgment with respect to a trademark, a plaintiff in the Second Circuit must allege that it is engaged in a course of conduct evidencing a definite intent and apparent ability to commence use of the marks on the product. The difference between an abstract question and a controversy contemplated by the Declaratory Judgment Act is necessarily one of degree. It would be difficult if it would be possible to fashion a precise test for determining in every case whether there is such a controversy. Basically, the question in each case is whether the facts alleged under all circumstances show that there is a substantial controversy between parties having adverse legal interests of sufficient immediacy and relative and reality to warrant the issuance of a declaratory judgment. If both the federal question and actual controversy exist, then the declaratory judgment jurisdiction may be appropriately be exercised. If no such controversy exists, however, the courts are prohibited from rendering an advisory opinion that would be beyond our constitutional power. Alternative mandamus, preemptory mandamus, and continuing mandamus. A writ of mandamus is an order from a court to an inferior government official ordering the government official to properly fulfill their official duties or correct an abuse of discretion. Mandamus is an extraordinary remedy which should only be used in exceptional circumstances of peculiar public importance. The district court concluded that there was no genuine controversy capable of supporting the exercise of subject matter jurisdiction because Saller's plans to conduct business in the United States were too vague and were too largely formulated after Saller had filed the original complaint, thereby making them irrelevant to the question of jurisdiction. We find this test appropriate here. Declaratory judgment actions involving trademarks are analogous to those involving patents, and principles applicable to declaratory judgment actions involving patents are generally applicable with respect to trademarks. While it is true that district court determination whether to exercise declaratory jurisdiction is denominated as discretionary, a district court is required to entertain a declaratory judgment action when the judgment will serve a useful purpose in clarifying and settling the legal relation and issue, or when it will terminate and afford relief from the uncertainty, insecurity, and controversy giving rise to the proceeding. A declaratory judgment would definitely determine applicants' rights to use the starter marks in athlete footwear and resolve the demonstrated uncertainty between the parties that has been generated by this controversy, avoiding attendant expenses. Records of non prosecution agreements. In a case in which a non prosecution agreement is reached in return for a person's cooperation, the attorney for the government should ensure that the case file contains a memorandum or other written record setting forth the terms of the agreement. The memorandum of record should be signed or initialized by the person whom the agreement is being made or his or her attorney. Benefit is not a touchstone of corporate liability. Benefit is at best evidential, not an operative fact. Thus, whether the agent's actions ultimately refound to the benefit of the corporation is less significant, and to whether the agent acted with the intent to benefit the corporation. The basic purpose of requiring that an agent have acted with the intent to benefit the corporation, however, is to insulate the corporation from criminal liability for actions of its agents, which may be inimical to the interests of the corporation, or which may have been undertaken solely to advance the interests of the agent or a party other than the corporation.